Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us today. Whether you're joining us live or watching this at a later date, we want to say thank you for your time. We know how valuable it is. Today, we are going to go through some e-commerce basics. My name is Toby James. I am the owner of Cats Cove Communications, a website design, e-commerce, social media. I guess you could just call us a marketing communications firm based out of Perth, Ontario. And I'm thrilled to share some of the information that we believe to be very, very valuable when making a decision and getting started in the world of e-commerce. So I want to be clear, this is not going to be a whole lot of a how. We're not going to do a lot of the technical stuff, the actual nuts and bolts necessarily of how to get your e-commerce set up. And in part, one of the reasons why is there are many options that are out there for you. This is really a presentation for those that are thinking about getting started. And I want to give you a list of things that you need to consider if you're about to get started in e-commerce. If you already started in e-commerce, as many of us do, I know I'm that kind of person where there's a good chance that I've jumped in with both feet before I ever really consider some of the specifics, then this will be useful for you as well, because we're going to go through a lot of things that you need to start thinking about when you get into e-commerce. So something that I want to talk about right off the hop, though, is the idea that if you have a product or a service that you're selling, you really do need to be selling it online. Digital buyer penetration in Canada in 2021 was 73%. So when I say digital buyer presentation or penetration, really what I mean is 73% of Canadians bought something online in 2021. Which is a pretty staggering number. I mean, from that 73%, just so you know that it's not always certain generations that are buying and others that aren't. This is actually part of your breakdown here. So baby boomers were the largest segment that started there, that is buying online, followed by millennials and then the Gen Xers. Now, some of that might have to do with purchasing power, obviously, as we kind of work our way from baby boomers to Gen X. You can that makes some sense, right? Disposable income and purchasing power might be a little higher in the baby boomers and then the millennials, but it's important to recognize that this is something that's happening with all people. So regardless of who your audience is, they are now shopping online. It's pretty simple that way, because this is no longer the future, right? And this is no longer something that you need to think about and get started on eventually. This is today. You need a plan to be online. You need a plan to be selling online. Even if you only have a few things that you're selling. I want you to promise me, so to speak, that you are creating a plan on how to get those things online. And we're going to talk about a lot of those options, because there are a lot of them. It can be very, very overwhelming when we're getting started. We're going to go through a couple of the key terms here. The idea of e-commerce, right? When we talk about selling online, when we're talking about e-commerce, we literally are just talking about the process of buying and selling online or electronically. So this can be online retail as a whole, or more specifically, the transaction type. So you'll hear it used in both situations. If you are traditional brick and mortar, it means you have a physical store that customers can go to rather than just having an online presence. I would suspect, if you're watching this, we're probably a balance between people who have that brick and mortar and have always been successful in the brick and mortar world, who are seeking to go online. And there are some people that are just looking to start an online business itself and never actually have the brick and mortar. The nice thing about an online presence in general is, of course, it doesn't have the overhead of brick and mortar. If we're talking about B2B, there's a assumption B2B equals business to business, and you are selling your customers or other businesses. So you're selling your services or products to another business, and oftentimes that business turns around and sells to the consumer. So you are the start of the food chain, and the other business might be the middle person in that regard. We talk about business to consumer, we're talking about B2C, or you might hear the words D as in dog to C, which means direct to consumer. So again, relatively simple. If you ever hear in the terms, when we're talking about e-commerce, if you ever heard the phrase upselling, when we're talking about upselling, we are talking about the idea that we want to take them and move them and increase their value, increase their purchase. So when you think about you're sitting in a restaurant, for example, and as you sit in that restaurant and somebody says, whenever they ask, is there room for dessert, they are upselling you on what you've already spent. And the last one that was on there, as we've kind of jumped ahead already, but the last one that was on there was the idea of an online marketplace. And we're talking about anything that's not a traditional store that way. So it could be an Amazon, an eBay, an Etsy, something like that is what we would consider to be an online marketplace. So let's talk about why we want to sell on e-commerce, why you want to create your own e-commerce store, your own storefront on the internet. You're not vulnerable to external factors that way. So we're going to talk about those online marketplaces, social media, Etsy, eBay, Amazon, things like that. But you're not vulnerable to things like algorithms on your store. Whatever you want to display on the front of your store is what you get to display and what you get to choose to display. And the beauty of your own website is there's no competition there. I can't buy ad space on your website. So we're both trying to sell pairs of shoes. I do not have the ability to sell my shoes on your shoe store website. That's not how it works. These e-commerce platforms are designed specifically to help you sell. So a website is designed to help you promote your brand, for example. An e-commerce platform, and we're going to talk about all the ones that might be out there, are designed specifically to help you sell your product in that case. There's been countless studies done that tell us that new customers, so somebody who has never dealt with you before, prefers to buy from you if you have a website. So the age-old question of, do I need a website, is answered relatively quickly with that premise of a new customer prefers to buy from you if you have a website. It creates a level of trust. Think of it as the first handshake that way. E-commerce sites allow you to abandon carts. Try that again. E-commerce sites allow abandoned cart recovery. What does that mean? That means that every time somebody, for any reason, whether they hit your shipping fees and thought they were too high, or their kids distracted them, or the doorbell rang, anytime somebody doesn't complete their transaction, your e-commerce platform allows you to enact various steps to get me back to finish that transaction. We've all received those emails from different places that say, hey, did you forget something? You still got something in your cart. Don't forget about this. That's what we're talking about when it comes down to abandoned cart recovery. An e-commerce platform becomes remarkably valuable that way. They're also very mobile responsive. So they allow you to let your customers shop from anywhere. So there are a ton of builders, e-commerce builders that are available to you. We're all familiar with Shopify, I shouldn't say we're all familiar with Shopify. I'm presuming you're familiar with Shopify by now. Shopify is wonderful for large stores and wonderful if you believe you are going to scale your business. So if you have grand designs, Shopify is a wonderful platform because it grows with you and it's really designed to grow with you. Shopify was built, of course, by somebody that was trying to sell something online and realized that there wasn't an easy, simple platform for small business owners and for people to use. And so he actually created it with this goal in mind, with a platform that everyone else can use. Wix is a great overall option, very simple website design that way, and very intuitive e-commerce. There's BigCommerce as well, which is great for a quickly growing business. It's a great scalable opportunity. Squarespace is wonderful for brand focused stores. Square is a great spot to start for sellers on a budget. There's a free option with Square, and you're allowed to start. Now, listen, it's like anything, right? You get what you pay for. Free is wonderful until you realize what free doesn't do for you. But Square is a great spot for if you're on a budget. Weebly is a great entrepreneurial option, very similar to Wix, probably doesn't have quite all the same facets. And then there's something called 3D Cart and Big Cartel. And these are wonderful builders. Now, some of them require you to build your entire site on them and add the store in. And some of them are things you can add to an existing website. And I say that because we admittedly are a little bit partial to the idea of Ecwid here. If we're not building a website directly on Wix at Cats Cove Communications and adding your e-commerce as a result of that, oftentimes our recommendation is a platform called Ecwid. It has a great number of website integration. I mean, WordPress, Wix, Weebly, Joomla, Drupal, Squarespace, almost whatever you've already started on, Ecwid can be attached on top of that site. And it doesn't sit on top in a clunky way. You get to add a tab that says shop with us or store or whatever it might be. And it's a great opportunity to build your store into your existing website. It does exist as a standalone as well. So if you just wanted to make a quick Ecwid store, you can do it as well that way. One of the nice things about Ecwid is it has all of these other interesting integrations. So you can set it up and connect to sell on Facebook, Instagram, which I can see I've spelled wrong, eBay, Amazon, Etsy, Tumblr, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So Ecwid works as this beautiful middleman. Excuse me. Ecwid works as this beautiful middleman in between whatever website you have. It becomes the channel that you can sell on that website. The only one we found that it doesn't work with properly is anything in the iframes region. So it doesn't work great with a Google website or a GoDaddy website, but everything else it works beautifully with. And it allows you to transition and manage your inventory and your commerce profiles and everything with Facebook, Instagram, eBay, Amazon, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So it becomes something that we definitely recommend people take a look at. Depending on how many items you're looking to sell, it's I believe it's free for your first 10 items as well, which is fantastic. So let's be honest, right? This is really one of the things we want to talk about is the idea of what's going to cost. So if you're watching this, if you're participating, there's a good chance you've already made up your mind that you need to start paying attention to e-commerce. You need to start playing in this field somewhere. And so that's really what we're talking about is what's going to cost you. So all of the ones that I'm listing here, I want you to realize all have a free trial available to them. Okay, which is wonderful. Different starting prices you'll see. So Wix is $23, Squarespace is $18. There's a couple that have no starting price at all. So you start at zero. It really is just a free platform, but they might take transaction fees. So Square is a great example of that, right? Square is a payment provider as well. And so it might cost you nothing, but every sale you make, you're going to lose 3% plus 30 cents. Sorry. Squarespace takes some. Shopify takes some. Ecwid, I will say this, does not take transaction fees. It's one of the nice things about Ecwid, even though I don't have it listed there right now. So this is a great grid to give you an idea, right? What am I going to pay? And those are monthly starting prices, to be clear. And then if I'm selling a lot, what's my transaction fee going to cost me? There are some things to think about when it comes to e-commerce. And I want to make sure that we're going to cover off a lot of these as we go here. So I'm just, okay. So search engine optimization, because you may have seen other stuff from us or from somebody else out there on SEO and why it's important. And really what I want to go through here is the idea of SEO needs to be done not just for your website, but for your store as well. So I want to make sure in this context that you are spending the appropriate amount of time on written content. So content that gets your message across is really what I'm talking about here. So if you're selling a practical product, you might actually think that it speaks for itself, but that's not always the case. I mean, if you want to generate leads and increase sales, you need to think about what the words are as you're doing this. So you'll need your product descriptions to be proper. You might even need an about us page on your store that explains it. If you really want to share your industry expertise, you might consider a blog that talks about different ways to use your products and different tips and tricks that demonstrate that you're the expert. And I know some of this will already be on your website if you already have a website. So maybe you don't need it exactly if you're just building your store into your website. But if you're thinking about this from the very beginning, I want you to understand that really what we're talking about is building not just a website, but an entire web store, an entire presence that way. So you need to think about your written content. Too many times I see somebody that builds a store, and again, let's assume that they're selling shoes, and it just has the pair of shoes up there, and there's no written description. Well, the problem is when somebody searches for shoes, men's shoes, let's say, golf shoes, running shoes, whatever they might be, if you don't have a written description, Google doesn't know what you're selling. So Google can't even begin to help people find you if you haven't done that work. The other thing that Google pays attention to is your photos. Name your photos properly, please. Don't use 254756.jpg. That might be what it's saved at on your computer, and I understand that. And that's not your fault. That's what it saves as, and that's okay. But at the end of the day, that's what Google thinks is in that picture. Google doesn't necessarily look at that and go, "Oh, look at that, it's a pair of running shoes." Google doesn't know what it is. So it's up to you to then take it and save that photo as men's size 11.5 Nike running shoes, for example. Google pays a lot of attention to that stuff. So that's something when you're setting up your store that I really, really want you to think about. That's search engine optimization. I also just want you to think about marketing in general. In our Google Analytics and Google Search Console work, we talk a lot about your target audience and how you can use that information. So if you haven't, if you haven't watched that presentation from us, I definitely suggest you go find it on our website or YouTube channel, something like that. Go find it, because it's going to teach you how to determine what your target audience is. The people that are already visiting you online. If you don't have that website, then I need you to think about it in different terms, but I need you to still think about everything from location, demographics, the culture, the device use. Who are these people? How are they interacting with you online? What are they doing with you online that way? I need you to think about that audience. I need you to think about that unique selling point as well, because there's a very, very good chance that whatever you do, other people do as well. Know why you are different. Know why people should interact with you online, why people should buy your goods or services. Very, very important. I want you to think as well about how your audience is going to find you. Is it going to be through Google search, through organic search, through paid search, whether it be social media paid or search engine marketing? It could just be through your traditional social media. How's your audience going to find you? You need to, it's one thing to create the store. It's another thing to create the store, sit back, put your feet up, and just say to yourself, well, I'm going to wait for sales to come in, because that's not how it works. You need to know what that marketing is going to be. And you need to consider what you are comfortable with regards to marketing as well. I want to go back to images just very quickly. Images are super important when it comes to your e-commerce store. I need these. Yes, we talked about naming them, and I'm going to remind you again to name them. but I want you to make sure that your pictures are high quality. If anyone here has ever spent any time, scanning real estate online or listings of houses or anything that way, you know the difference that good photography can make. You know the difference between high quality pics of your images. So whatever it is, if you've created something, if you're reselling a product, whatever it might be, I need you to really think about those high quality pics. If you aren't comfortable as a photographer yourself, I encourage you to find a photographer to help you out. Pay that money to make sure that your pics are high quality. When you're displaying them online, make sure that they have similar dimensions. Don't give me one in a rectangle, one in a circle, one that's bigger than the other. Don't make it jump around and help me lose context for them. I want to be able to compare A to B to C to D, and simply, I'd love as many views and angles as possible. So however it's, whatever it might be, take as many views and angles and take as many pictures with those views and angles as possible. Show me all sides of it rather than just a static two-dimensional photo. Show me all the variants. So again, depending on what you're selling, I want to see your red shirt and the blue shirt. I want pictures of all of them. Don't just tell me this is a yellow shirt, but I also have it in red and blue. If I don't know what the red and blue looks like, it doesn't hit the same for me. It just doesn't resonate the way I want it to. And that's obviously a problem, because if I don't know what that blue shirt looks like, I'm not going to buy the blue shirt. Maybe I was looking for a blue shirt, but the only picture you have is the yellow shirt. So if we're going to keep on shirts, context. You think everybody understands what a shirt is, how it's worn. But a picture of a shirt hanging on a person, being worn by a person, sells significantly better. So if it's for context, if you're a restaurant and you're trying to sell your food, showing people enjoying your food or on the plate is much better than just showing it on its own somewhere else. If you're an artist, showing it in somebody's home is a much better version than just against a white background. Clothes should be on the person that you intend to sell the clothes to. This is context. Sports equipment, show people using it rather than just a picture of a hockey stick leaning up against a wall somewhere or on a white background. That's fine, but showing it in somebody's hands is important context that way. So I need you to think about these images that way. And listen, I've already yelled at you about this once, so we'll do it again. Name the images properly. Don't stick with the number. And also understand that Google will take what's in that image description and use that to help drive people to your website. We obviously need to think about shipping, right? I mean, this is probably the most common question I get when people are talking about setting up their e-commerce. And this is often something where people get stuck before they get started. But what about shipping, Toby? How do I do shipping? And to be totally a giant bother here, it's going to depend on what platform you use. And it's going to depend on how you want to do it. So make sure you understand how your platform does shipping. Spend some time. Again, I'm not going to go through all 222 options that might be out there. Obviously, there's lots of choices for how you can ship things. You need to decide, do you want the end user to pay, or are you going to absorb that cost? When you're thinking about who's paying for shipping, I want you to understand something. Free shipping is king or queen, or however, it's paramount. Amazon Prime is built off of free shipping. We know it's not free shipping. Somebody's paying for it. Either the person that you're buying it from, that's, it's being fulfilled by Amazon, they're paying for that. It could be your Amazon Prime membership is actually what's covering that shipping, but we're told it's free shipping. And so as a result of being told that, we love it. Free shipping makes us feel like we're getting a deal. And the number of abandoned carts that you see across e-commerce platforms when people get to shipping and they go, well, I'm not paying $20 to get that. right? But if you took that $20 across the board and added it on to the cost of your product and then said, and I'll ship it to you for free, you will not see as many people balk at that, as many people turn away in that moment as you might think. It's actually quite remarkable. Free shipping is king. Understand how your platform works and understand that you are in control of it. You can tell everybody, if you're just looking to sell locally but still sell online, it can all be pickup. You don't need to ship. Come to my home. It can be, I will deliver it, but it's going to be within the next 10 days. You are in complete control of how you do this. Just understand the options that are there. This is something that if you get to this point, if there's anybody watching this, whether it's live with us today or 12 years from now and you're watching this online on a YouTube channel, our contact details are at the end. When you're stuck, give us a call, send us an email. Let's talk about how to set up your shipping. I do not want people to stop themselves from starting e-commerce because they're worried about how it will work on the other end. Let's talk about taking payment. Think about the fees that exist, right? So if you go back to that chart that we showed, the idea that some will take some take percentages of your transaction, some don't, right? But some do. Compatibility. So I need you to think about your in-store system or how you're taking payments now. Does it work online? Does it not work online? So you might have a point of sale system at your brick and mortar store that may not work with your e-commerce platform. Well, do you really want to have two e-com platforms that you have to sync up and do inventory? Maybe if you love your point of sale system at the store, maybe it's easier to find an e-commerce platform that works with that point of sale system rather than overhauling everything. I've seen this many times where somebody goes through, they do the entire e-com, they put in all of their inventory, they're ready, set, go, and then they realize that the two things don't talk to each other. Well, you need to understand what your in-store system will do online or won't do online. I also want you to be aware of when you get paid. What do I mean by that? Well, when you get paid is obviously important as a business owner. So some payment systems, some point of sale systems don't actually pay you out immediately. It's not there at the end of the day. Some take a few days. Some do. Some require you to set it up to go get that money, right? But think about it that way. Cash flow, that POS, that online sale program, payment program, may or may not hinder your cash flow. So the free one might hinder your cash flow, right? Because they might hold that money for an extra week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, something like that. If you need it immediately, you need to consider what that system's going to be. And let's just do some examples of what it looks like when you really think about it. So examples. So in this case, we're going to talk about Stripe or PayPal Standard versus PayPal Pro. And so $100 sale times 2.9% plus 30 cents is what we're looking at, right? Is $160 a month. Right, 50 transactions times $3.2 transaction, you're going to lose or pay $160 a month. PayPal Pro and all the extra stuff that it gets, you might be paying, because there's a $35 monthly fee, you might be paying $195 a month. If your POS doesn't take any fees, well, then you're not paying anything off the top. But I need you to consider why they're not taking any fees. What's happening somewhere else with that point of sale system? All of these things are vital for you to consider when you're setting this up. Again, I've seen this many times where we set up online stores for people, and then we start talking about the payment program, and they say, I'm not going to badmouth a specific one here, but they say that they want to use a certain platform, and that's wonderful. And then 3 weeks later, they weren't aware that it wasn't going to pay them out immediately. And now they're having cash flow issues. So that's something that we need to consider as well. Other things to consider: order tracking. What about order tracking? So does your system provide tracking for the end user? Or are you going to go and find a third-party system to do the tracking for the end user? Both are options. Both are fine options. They both work wonderful. But will it provide tracking? So does it provide updates? Well, let me know that the order is processing, the order is packaged. Is it ready to ship, or is it ready to be picked up? This is stuff that, while not vital, consider this. Do you want to be answering those emails? Do you want to answer those phone calls? Hey, when's my stuff ready? When's my stuff ready? When's my stuff ready? Or would you like me to be able to log on and see, oh, it's been packaged. Oh, it's going to get picked up. We all love that little notification that the courier has picked up our package or something like that. We all love that stuff. So consider whether or not, or how, your e-commerce platform handles order tracking. Think of it this way too. Does it offer the ability to give discount codes? Can you run sales for your store, for your business? Do you want to, first of all, obviously? But if you did, if you wanted to offer a 10% off sale because your birthday's in March and you're going to offer a birthday sale, well, do you want to be able to do that? Can you put in birthday 10 at checkout to get 10% off? What about selling gift cards? Right? We're coming at I mean, as we record this, we're still in the middle of COVID, obviously. But when you think about it that way, gift cards have been a large thing to keep a lot of small business afloat. If you're somebody that's relied on gift cards, well, wouldn't you love the ability to have somebody log on at 11 p.m. at night and buy a gift card for their friend, their loved one, their partner, whatever it might be? Will your e-commerce platform allow for that? What about the current gift cards that are already out there? Does it give you a way to process them? Maybe that matters to you, maybe it doesn't. But if somebody already bought a gift certificate for their sister, and that sister comes in and wants to process it, if she can do it online, you are going to greatly increase the chance that she's going to buy something from you. So I need you to think about that. Finally, no, I shouldn't say finally. One of the last things that we want to talk about here is I want you to think big. I want you to think about growth. Now, you might be here thinking, I've got 4 things to sell. I'll only ever have 4 things to sell. That's all I care about. And that's fine, right? That's wonderful. But what happens if your store explodes? What happens if your business really takes off? Is your online store going to grow with you? So when you start with the free platform, that's great. But does it have the ability to grow with you? So when I talk about Ecwid, right? And Ecwid's a platform that we like, and it's free up to 10 items. What happens when your inventory goes and grows? And now you've got 15 items. Well, what do you have to pay for that growth in inventory? What does that mean? What happens to your processing fees as your inventory grows? So we have 2 things, right? So we might start at free or very low cost. But as we go from 10 items to 100 items, well, we have to upgrade our package likely. Maybe, maybe not, depending, again, on the platform you've chosen. Well, what happens when we're doing more and more and more sales? Do my fees, do my e-com payment fees change at all? This is all stuff that I need you to think about when you're doing your research for e-commerce. Do you get stock alerts? Not stock alerts like the NASDAQ and the Dow and all those fun things. That's not what we're talking about here at all. We're talking about stock alerts. What about if you have low stock? Is your platform going to tell you about low stock alerts? Because you might only sell one of ones right now. You might sell unique stuff right now. But what happens if you produce 10 to 20 of these things? And you want to keep producing 10 to 20 of these things. So for an artist, we've gone from producing one of ones to now we're doing prints. But I want to know when those prints are out of stock. You need to think about stuff like this. And finally, when all of this is done and you're all the way through all of these things, you've thought about all these little bits and minutiae as we sit here and we talk about it. What happens when you need help? Does your platform provide 24/7 phone help, 24/7 chat help? What are you paying for? I got news for you. The free ones, very, very rare that they're there in person, 24/7 phone. even 24/7 chat. But a lot of the time when you have an upgraded plan, there is somebody available to help you when there's an issue. So have a plan and know what your options are and who you're going to call when something goes wrong. At the end of the day, it's Saturday at 7 p.m. There's an inventory issue. Your store is not processing a gift card. You know it should. You've set it up properly. You know you're just hitting the wrong button. Who are you going to call? Who are you going to chat with? Think about what your support options are to get you through that, because if you can't help solve it for the end user, that end user is probably lost as a customer that way. These are all things to think about. So I'm going to scroll back quickly one more time here, right? So when you set your store up, I need you to think about your search engine optimization. The written word, the content, the pictures. These are all very important things to get people to find you, because it's not just your homepage that helps people find you. Those images, those parts of your store are vital. Know who you're targeting. Know what your plan's going to be for marketing. What does your audience look like? Know why you are different, why you're different than all your competitors, whether your competitors are local down the street, regional, international. Know why you are different, why people should go, why they should buy your product or service, and understand how your audience is going to find you. Back to marketing, right? Are we going to push it on social media? Is that how we're going to drive traffic? Are we hoping search engine optimization is going to work? Are you going to do that SEO yourself? Are you going to hire a company to do it? Are you just going to be networking and telling people about it? All the things that you need to be comfortable with. When you're doing photos, high quality pics, similar dimensions displayed on your website. Don't give me different sized photos, but in those photos, I do want as many views and angles as possible. I also want all the variants. So if you offer 6 different colors of socks, show me all 6. Show me in context, show me how they're on somebody's feet, and name them. Red socks for men, blue socks for women, whatever they are, name them properly. Don't leave the images 2, 3, 5, 7. Think about your shipping. Know that you have control of shipping. You might just have to pay attention to your platform that you're getting set up with. You have control over whether the end user will pay or you pay. But people balk when they get to the shipping costs, right? We don't want to pay shipping. We don't. So free shipping is king. So consider what that looks like and how far you will ship for free, for example. Understand all the payment options that are out there. Listen, if you're a traditional brick and mortar store right now, you already have a point of sale system. Figure out if you can sync it with your e-com platform. If you're not sure, call your e-com platform that you're investigating, ask them, or call your point of sale help, ask them. Figure out whether it works online. And if you're new and you're setting up a new one, think about how compatible it is, what the fees are, and when do you get paid? When will they cash that out for you? Okay. Provide order tracking. Think about what that looks like. Order tracking prevents phone calls and emails from people like me who are anxious and impatient, who want to know, where's my stuff? When is it coming? If you want to do gift cards and discounts, make sure your platform will allow for it. If you don't want to do gift cards and discounts, that's fine too. You certainly don't have to. But if you do, make sure your platform will allow for it. As you think big and you think about what happens when it grows, just be aware that you might end up paying a little more money. It might go from a free store to a paid store. And let's think about our support as we do grow, as things break, as we try new things. We need help with this stuff. This is just the nature of the beast, right? So what's going to happen when you need help at 9 p.m. on a Sunday night? Will your e-com platform that you have paid for be there to help you? Let's talk about some other online options. So we have online marketplaces and social media. We're not going to go through how to set these up right now either. Again, if you're watching this and you want some help with this, by all means, reach out. There's lots of other wonderful web resources out there on how to set this stuff up already, though. So we need to have a conversation about these, though. So online marketplaces, we're talking about Amazon, eBay, Etsy, things like that. With regards to social media, we're talking about Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. These are places that you can sell your stuff without setting up a traditional e-commerce store. You can probably take your traditional e-commerce store and actually tie them all together as well, though. You can do it that way, where you can tie it all together, where you can manage your inventory all in one place. So online marketplaces have a low barrier to entry, which is wonderful. You create an account, you list a product, you decide how you're going to fulfill it, right? Are you going to ship, or how are you going to accept payments? How are you going to do this, right? Is it something you already have in stock, or you make it every time when somebody orders it? You get paid, you ship it, right? Amazon, eBay, Etsy, really, really simple, really easy to get started. But here's the thing. It's really, really tough to stand out. The price you pay, so to speak, is that everybody's there. So you want to sell your socks on Amazon? Well, good luck, because you need to stand out when I search for men's socks on Amazon. Now, it doesn't mean you can't. You can buy your way to the top. You can do stuff like that, but everything kind of looks the same. It's all formatted the same that way. You need to have a big, big brand that I'm searching for. I need to know that Toby's socks are the best socks, right? I also, listen, you're going to get in price wars if you're selling a commodity that way. These online marketplaces are going to put you in a price war, right? Amazon, eBay, and Etsy, they're going to put you in that price war. If you've already built your brand, because you need that brand to stand out there, and it's already built on social media, I would definitely consider setting up through some of the commerce profiles. Set up a Facebook shop. You manage your inventory that way. Connect it to your Instagram. You can manage your inventory that way. You can set up your TikTok to sell as well. You can buy things from TikTok. These are options that are available for you. So I'm only covering them briefly because I'd much prefer that you set up an online store and drive traffic to it from your social media. But these are places that you can be selling as well. We've covered a lot of information, not a lot of specifics. I'm aware it's not a lot of specifics. That's done intentionally because I don't know, whenever you're watching this, how far along you are in your journey. But these are the things you need to consider when you're getting into e-commerce. If you're stuck and you're not sure how to get started with all of this one, I implore you, give us a call, right? Give us a call, send us an email when you're stuck. We would love to sit down and help, and even just talk about all these options with you, come up with solutions together. We really enjoy doing this kind of stuff. And we see the extreme value, because remember, 73% of Canadians made an online purchase in 2021. If you didn't receive an online purchase in that time, what's your plan to make sure you'll receive one in 2022? If you're not sure, like I said, give us a call. Thank you so much for your time today. We hope to hear from you soon, and thanks for joining.